Hello, everyone. Welcome to Oceania Catholic Homeschooler today. Thank you so much, Peter, for being with us today. This is Peter Christofides from Peter Christofides. Have I got the pronunciation right?
Christofides is good. Call me whatever you
Sorry.
like.
He's a lecturer in theology at University of Notre Dame in Freemantle. So thank you so much for joining us today. Firstly, what inspired you to pursue a career in theology?
So, Anastasia, thank you so much for having me. I grew up in Johannesburg, and my family were quite religious, but Dad was a violent alcoholic, and so used to beat Mom up sadly, and beat us up, and so that kept us on our knees the whole time. And then I think the change came when I had to do my 2 years of military service, the conscription in South Africa, and I saw a lot there. And when I come out, like all Greek boys have to become doctors or lawyers, and I didn't feel that that's what I could do. So tried law, and uh, when I was really disappointed in that, I realized that my calling was to study theology. So I went ahead and did a Bachelor of Theology, and then started working in ministry. I worked with street kids in Johannesburg, and then in school as well, and just carried on studying. So I did an honors and also did a master's. I went on to do a PhD on
Wow.
peace and reconciliation, and then started lecturing. And the institution that I was at was encouraging its lecturers to what they call publish or perish, and so we're encouraged to study some more. So the principal at the time took us all back to university and said register, and so we all had to register for a second PhD. So managed to graduate with a second PhD. On the rediscovery of the role of the laity in the mission of the church, and really loved that. And so, what inspired me, I'm not sure, but rather than kind of me running after theology, it seems like theology came after me, and I'm constantly improving myself with short courses, and obviously as a lecturer, there's constant preparation. So that is how I suppose theology found me rather than me finding theology.
Wow, so it's really like part of your vocation. That is so amazing. And what would you say to someone who has the attitude of like, I'm keen to study theology, I'm not sure if I should or not because I'm worried it won't get me a job. What would you say to that someone who said that?
As the undergraduate degree coordinator at the University of Notre Dame, that question comes up regularly. And there are so many vocations for people who do a Bachelor of Theology, because there's often a portion of that could be supplemented with philosophy, with law. So you could do a major or a minor in one of those disciplines. And we live in a world where ethics seems to be out the window, but a lot of the younger generation are wanting to make a difference in the area of ethics. And so when you combine philosophy, theology, and ethics, it's a trifecta. It's so powerful because you're able to use your studies in theology and certainly in philosophy, and from an ethical perspective, be part of a mining company, be part of an organization that seeks to do the right thing. And often you are the eyes and ears of the organization to feel the pulse. So last night I actually attended a meeting where I was invited onto the Human Research Ethics Committee for the Health Department of Western Australia, and just to be the ethical voice for the organization. So when people want to do experiments, what is the ethical side of things? And so that's so important. So it's not because I've got a PhD in those disciplines, but even a bachelor's degree would help in that particular area. So there's school chaplaincy. There are so many different vocations that one can enter with reference to this. I've got a friend who's a worker up in the Pilbara uh, as a chaplain on a mine site because they're
Wow.
able to and earning a lot of money and able to just offer support to those who are away from their families during these difficult times. And they often want somebody that's got some sort of theological background as well.
So theology isn't like something that doesn't help with careers. Theology is something that helps in every career, no matter what.
Absolutely. So it's not just for those who want to become priests or nuns. There are many, many different vocations that are available, and I think companies are looking for more people to be involved from an ethical perspective. And it's not to kind of religiously uh, have that persuasion, but just to understand the standard of ethics from a moral perspective.
Wow. What about people who are really keen to study theology, but maybe they're parents with 10 kids, or they've got full-time jobs, and it's not really a possibility to do a degree, or maybe they can't afford it. How can they still get a good grounding in the faith
Okay,
academically?
sure. In Perth, in the Archdiocese of Perth, there is an organization called Centre for Faith Enrichment, CFE, and they present different courses. So I am one of their lecturers, and I go to a different parish every school term. So 4 times a year, according to the school calendar, I'll go to a parish and I'll present 4 1-hour lectures over those 4 weeks to lay people who are able to come and just sit in and listen. And so, if you want to just grow, you just audit, and that means just sitting and listening. There's a set of notes that you'll get, each week. But there's others who could do it more formally, and they're able to do an assessment or and it's not difficult assessments, but they're able to do 4 courses with the Center for Faith Enrichment and 4 with the University of Notre Dame and get a diploma in theology. So there
Wow.
is that is available. I can't speak with confidence about what's going on in Sydney, but there are all these facilities that are available to do courses and growing knowledge. There's some in the day, there's others at night, and so we felt that rather than people having to come to the university, the Centre for Faith Enrichment said, will go to the parishes. So I've just finished 4 weeks on the writings of Luke, which is the Gospel of Luke and the Book of Acts, and so to inspire people to actually get together and talk about the lecture. What I also do is on a Saturday morning, we gather together, a group of us, and just sit in a circle and read the Bible together. And we
Wow.
just take turns from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's freezing now in the winter, but we just read the Bible together. And those who feel a bit more inspired will say, I want to study a little bit more. So we'll try and look for avenues for them to try and grow in their faith.
So there's a lot of different options. That's really cool.
Absolutely.
And what about from your experience in theology and from working with kids, would you, what would you say would be some advice you could give for parents who want to bring theology into their kids' education, specifically while they homeschool? How can they do that?
Well, it's difficult to teach children if you don't know the topic yourself, and so that's why it's so important. So we have not homeschooled our son, but we're able to take what gets taught at school and also what we know as parents, as people who love the Lord, um, uh, to try and allow that to become a reality in our child's life. And so my wife and I will sit and plan and say, listen, I'll ask you about a certain topic, or if you went to a talk, then I'll ask you, what did you find interesting? And so she'll tell me. So our son hears that. For example, just recently, just doing this talk, I would come home and say, you know what happened at this talk that I came up or that I presented today? This is what happened. And we interact with each other, and our son hears that. and I might ask a question and I'll say, Maria, what do you think about this? And then I'll say, son, what do you think about this? And so we allow him. So it's not now for the next 10 minutes, we are only going to talk about this because a lot of kids go, oh, that's too formal. But we try and what we call socialize in such a way that it becomes part of our family talk, and we don't say, well, during dinner, 10 minutes will be about sport, the other 10 minutes about the things of God. No, it's part of our talking. It's part of our life. It's part of who we are as followers of Jesus. And so now we might ask our son, what did you do today at school? And he'll say, well, this is what happened. And then my wife might ask him, and I might ask my wife. So it's not all focused on him, but it's part of how we roll as a family, if you like.
So it's part of your family life. That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
How would you say your academic background in theology plays into your faith formation and your formation and development as a Catholic?
Um, massive, massive, because obviously being a lecturer, I needed to grow and study more, and so that helped. But even I don't just take it as a vocation; I take it as something that's part of my life. So I speak, read, write Greek, so I'm able to explain the Greek New Testament more effectively. But that's not from only a academic level; it's also for my own spiritual journey and my spiritual growth. And so when a homily is heard in mass, then I go, okay, that's the passage that was read. Well, that's quite stimulating. Let me see how I can grow even more in my own faith. And as I do that, then I might share that with my wife. I'll share it at dinner, and say, hey, you know what I discovered today? This in this particular verse, it says this. This is the Greek word, and I'll
Wow.
expand. I'll expand on that. And so there is so much available, Anastasia, that free literature online that is available to help us to grow and increase in our faith as followers of Jesus.
Wow. There's so much out there. That's amazing. And thank you so much for being with us today. It's been great talking to you. And thank you to all of our watchers.
Thank you so much for the privilege. I'd love to do this again.